Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, President Collins. It's truly a pleasure to be with you all today. You know, and one of the greatest humbling things is to have the opportunity to come here as an alumnus and to greet you all. So one of the biggest concerns that I had was to not be boring, to keep it short. So I talked to President Collins about that, and he said, "Don't worry about it, Ken. We're only giving you 5 minutes." So with that, it is truly humbling to be asked, and honestly, it's wonderful to be with you all this morning and to be part of a day that you'll never forget. A milestone for the students certainly, and for your parents and family that have supported you. It doesn't seem that long ago that I was in the very same spot and accomplishing one of the most important goals of my young life. I remember everything about that day in 1985, except for who the speaker was. And I'm sure that your day will be just as memorable. At the time, along with the elation and achieving a major goal, I had questions and concerns as well about what was next. Then, as now, the nation and the world were going through significant change. As we sit here today, there are uncertainties about the long-term prospects of Brexit, a new U.S. president-elect, and even projections about millennials not having the opportunity to participate or gain the same wealth as their parents had. First, let's be clear about one thing. The world only ends once. The rest of the time, we talk about the world coming to an end. Change is constant, and with change comes opportunities. Changes in global warming, energy, healthcare, the Internet of Things. All of these things are exciting, amazing, and threatening at the same time. Industry leaders like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and others like them are all looking at new frontiers, opening new markets, and helping solve some of the world's problems. All of these leaders share a common trait. They do not worry about change. In fact, they help bring it about. When I graduated, my father, a medic in World War II, advised me to live life like an adventure, because you never know what lies ahead. He, like these other business leaders, understood that you need to determine your own future, and how successful your life is or becomes is really up to each of you. Adventure and success have different meanings to each individual, but a level of risk is implied in each. It is not much of an adventure if you know everywhere you are going to go or exactly what is going to happen to you along the way. And similarly, you can never truly be successful unless you have taken some risk. One of my favorite historical figures is President Teddy Roosevelt, and he captured this in one of his famous quotes. "The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by the dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly." As an exercise in an English course here at Clarkson, one of my professors had us write our definition of success. At the time, I had some pretty high expectations. The old American dream. I wanted a wife to love, a family, a nice house, a career that I enjoyed, and at some point, the ability to influence others in a positive way. I'm pleased to report that my wife and I celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary this year. I have 3 great children, a roof over our head, and I'm starting a new career. Well, where's the adventure and risk in that, you may ask? Well, that's only the headlines. The adventure really started when I accepted my first job. An offer that I received under the condition that I would not know what I would be doing for 2 years. I would be relocated twice, and I would not know the location of either of them. Adventure, check. Risk, check. Path toward leadership, check. It was in Dayton, Ohio, on my second move, that I was introduced to my future wife on a blind date. The same day she accepted a job to move out of town. In our 2-year courtship, we never lived closer than 500 miles apart, and that's before cell phones. I proposed to her in Kansas City on a horse and buggy ride. Romantic, right? That was after a dinner in which she was trying to break up with me. So path towards marriage and a family, check. Adventure and risk, double checks. So the first principle of achieving success, whether in business or your personal life, is to take the time to define it. Be able to answer the question, what success looks like to you. This makes it much easier for you to recognize it when it actually happens. Take the time to reflect on that now and write down your definition of success. You'll come back to it. Second, if success is your desired outcome and you believe living life as an adventure is a good recipe to follow, one key ingredient to make it happen is responsibility. Seek responsibility. Where change exists, there are problems to be solved, and there are leaders looking for other leaders to step up and help them solve them. Be prepared to spot the void and to put your hand up and be called upon. Responsibility requires doing something well for someone else. And whether in personal or in business life, that also implies taking risk. Great rewards come from doing something well for someone other than yourself, not the least of which is self-satisfaction. And when something feels good, when something feels really good, you want to do more of it. Take on more responsibility. In your lifetime, you will see much change. And for those willing to take some risks, to seek responsibility, to live each day as an adventure, your success is assured. I'd like to leave you with one last quote from Irma Bombeck, a revered American humorist many of you probably don't remember, who defined her success this way: "When I stand before God at the end of my life, I would hope that I would not have a single bit of talent left and could say, I used everything you gave me." So let's celebrate today as the end of the beginning and start tomorrow by putting our talents back to work on our next great adventure. It's a pleasure to be with you.